and welcome to the Yellow Jacket Guide podcast. My name is Rayhana, and this is your one-stop shop for everything travel, content, lifestyle, wellness, self-help. And I will be your guide on whatever journey of these that you're on, or if you just want to know about traveling or any travel tips and how to get there and be your most authentic travel self. I'm here for you. I'm wearing yellow today, very on brand, very yellow jacket core. And I have my fun earrings on, so I'm feeling very happy. I'm feeling very chipper. I am feeling like that girl. And I think I'm in a really good mood today because earlier I went on a hike in my city. They have these different hiking groups and they hike different national parks and rec centers and just in communities. I saw it on their Instagram and I was like, I need to get out and I need to be around a bunch of people. So I did end up going by myself to this hike group. I was just like, I just kind of want to be around strangers, if that makes sense. Sometimes you just want to be around people that you don't know and kind of just chill. So I get there, like there are people who already have their little friend groups who are already in duos, and I was just, I wasn't going out there to like expect anything or talk to anybody really, but I did see this one girl who had a Harry Potter backpack on, and I was like, oh my gosh, like her backpack is so cute, like I need to tell her. And I was like, oh hey, like I really love your backpack. And she was like, oh yeah, I got it from some consignment shop, and I needed a small bag and blah blah blah. So then we just got to talking, and we were talking the whole time. I made a little buddy on the hiking walk. And that just goes to show, like, sometimes when you just put yourself out there, you can make a new buddy, you can make a new friend. That was the first time I met her. I didn't know her, like, prior to this, like, at all. And then I got her Instagram, and I was like, oh, wow, like, maybe we can, come to these, like, together sometimes, or maybe even meet up outside of the hiking group. So it was pretty cool, and I had a really good time. So I left there around like 10, and then I was like, oh, okay, I don't really feel like going home. I want to go to a cafe, we can do some work, and just go to the library. So it was a very chill, like productive day. And so that's why I'm in a very chipper, yellow, sunshiny mood. But today I wanted to talk about one of my travel recaps. In July 2025, I went to Malaysia with my cousins and my sister, and I had a blast. I think it was even better because I technically wasn't supposed to go on the trip because I had work, but things happened and I was able to go on a trip, and I just didn't know how much I needed to go on a trip. And that wasn't our first international group going together as like, a cousin's trip, but that was the first time we went on a trip just because. And I thought that was really fun. And I was just like, I know them. I know how we operate. We all like are adventurers. We all like to like do like the crazy excursions. They jumped out of airplanes, not me though. But yeah, so I was like very excited to go with them. And I wasn't too much involved in the planning process about what we were going to do day to day. But I was like, I trust y'all. We're on the same page. Whatever y'all want to do, I'm cool with. Even though I was going with people that I already knew, I knew there would be certain instances where I'm just like, maybe I want to take a step back, whatever. But we'll go through that throughout this video. But this is my review on Malaysia. And if you hear something that you like, this might inspire you to want to try to go to Malaysia too, or, save to go to Malaysia and just have that great time. So I'll take you through our entire itinerary, highs, lows, things I wish we would have did, things I think we could have skipped out on. And yeah, let's get into my Malaysia trip recap. So we left out of Washington, D.C. because the flights were cheaper. And I always recommend, if you're able to, if you do have to go to a different city to fly out of, maybe that might be the best way because there's Amtrak. Maybe you can get a ride with someone, and you may be able to take like an hour car ride to another airport that might have cheaper options. So sometimes I like to go to like JFK because flights usually going out of JFK are a bit cheaper than going out of like Newark or some other places. So, getting there. This was one of the longest trips I've ever been on in my whole entire life. So we didn't have a direct flight. Our flight was from Washington, D.C. to Saudi Arabia, and then from Saudi Arabia to Malaysia. And all together, I believe that was about 22 hours worth of flying alone. So it was literally a full day's worth of flying, which I was trying to get out of, but there was really no other way. Like, there were no direct flights that we saw to KL, which I'm going to say KL as Kuala Lumpur. But there were no direct flights to KL, or if there were, they were like outrageously expensive. So we were like, we're not doing that. We're balling on the budget. So just getting there itself was a task, but it was fine. We flew on Etihad, which was my first time flying on Etihad, and it wasn't too bad. So we flew on Etihad to get there, and it was very calm, very smooth. They had a bunch of good movies. The food was good. Was it the best food? It wasn't that memorable to me, but it wasn't like disgusting. So that's all fine and dandy with your girl. We stayed in Malaysia for 5 days, so we didn't have that much time to travel around. A lot of itineraries that you might see about Malaysia is that you'll go to Kuala Lumpur, then you might go to Georgetown, I believe, which is another city. Like, you city hop. But a lot of the cities you can't necessarily like drive to. So you would have to catch a plane. The planes aren't that long. They're like an hour or so, but you would have to catch a plane to these specific places. And then, maybe stay for a night or whatever. So we just didn't have that in mind. That's something that I would have liked to have done. I don't necessarily like to stay in cities the whole time. I do want to go to different beaches or like maybe resorts and just see different areas that's not like the main city, and how like the regular, like, well, I wouldn't say regular, but like how like different people live throughout the country. So that's something I wish we would have done, was to really like explore the different cities that were in Malaysia, not just in KL. So we get there, we land around like 8 a.m. So we literally had the whole first day. Our plan was to get something to eat because we needed to wait for our Airbnb to open up, because, you can't usually get into Airbnbs or hotels before like 3 o'clock. So we found this place. It was a cafe. It was a little hard to find, but the food was really good. And if you're watching the YouTube version, I will try to put the name of the place on the screen. So we got cappuccinos, french fries, and then I was like, I want to try something different. So I've never had duck before. Well, actually, I've had duck, but it's never really been like a full duck. It's been like shredded or in stuff. So I never really like could taste it, if that makes sense. So on the menu, they had this like duck and egg breakfast sandwich that was really good. And I was just like, this tastes so good. My sister mentioned, she was like, oh my gosh, it tastes like turkey ham. And then after that, I was like, I can't even think it tastes like duck, because it literally tastes like turkey ham. If you ever had turkey ham, it's very like, it's an interesting flavor. But it was interesting. I really liked it. And yeah, so we got that. And then we were like, we still have time to kill after we ate. And we were like up, and we still had our suitcases and everything. So we were like, okay, we're going to go to a museum. So they had a free museum called the Negative Museum, which is kind of like their national museum. And we got to see a lot of the history about Malaysia, how Malaysia came to be, the demographics of Malaysia. There's a lot of course, ethnically Malaysian people, but then there's also a lot of Chinese and Indian people who've immigrated to Malaysia across the years. So we really got to learn a lot about the history, which I like. I am a museum girly. So by the time we left the museum, we were like, okay, it's time to check into our Airbnb. Mind you, we were on a flight for 22 hours. We have jet lag. It's time to get into that Airbnb. So we got into an Airbnb. It was in a high rise in like the center of KL, and it was actually pretty nice. It was 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. We had a shared space. There was an in-room washer and dryer. So it was very necessary for what we needed, because there was 4 of us, so each of us, shared a room, so it was fine. And the only thing is that our sink was leaking, and there was not really anybody that you could call about it. It wasn't like detrimental, but it was like just annoying. So that was like the only thing, but the location was great. We were like near everything. We were near the malls. We were near all the restaurants. So it was like a very touristy center city place to be. And then the rest of the night we went to the malls, which are very lively. Like the malls are a whole excursion in itself because there's so many different malls, there's so many different stores, and they're really affordable compared to US prices, depending on the kind of store that you go to. Of course, there's like the high-end stores, the Louis, the Gucci stores, all of that, but then there's also, of course, like everyday stores that you might be able to like negotiate. So I bought a few hijabs, I bought a few clothes and stuff there. There's something for everybody in those malls. There are also food courts in the malls, which are amazing. Like they have a lot of great food options out there. My favorite food that I got out of the malls, they had these roti buns, and it's pretty much like, it's hard to explain, but basically it's like a circle dough, and then they stuff it with meat. So you can either get beef or you can get chicken, and it was really good. I like the beef one better than the chicken one, but all in all, like I wish I would have got more of those. I only got the one, and yeah, but the food was pretty good, and they separated based off of halal versus not halal. So for folks who don't know, halal is the way meat is prepared for Muslims, and there's a large Muslim population in Malaysia, but also there is a large Chinese population, and a lot of Chinese food they eat pork, so they do have a fair share of like, non-halal versus halal restaurants, and they'll let you know beforehand where you go if it's halal or not. So that was pretty interesting, and yeah, very interesting cultural norm. So day two was the start of the trip. Like day 1 was cool. We got to explore the city, but we're trying to really get into the culture. We're trying to get into what's different about Malaysia and about Kuala Lumpur that's different from the US. So the first stop on our trip was we needed to hit up some Malaysian food, like some authentic Malaysian food. So we found this restaurant. We were going to go for brunch, but we missed the brunch time. So it actually turned into a buffet that you go to. You can shoot like an everyday buffet that you can go to, and they had different kind of Malaysian food. So they had curries, they had rice, they had salads, they had a lot of different food that like stews and stuff like that. Like a lot of different foods that I never had before. So it was great. So we all kind of just picked like 2 things that we thought was interesting, and we all kind of shared it family style, and it was really, really good. Some stuff I don't even know what it was, but I'm like, this meat stew was delicious. I think this is beef, or it might be lamb, or it might be goat. I don't really know, but the food was really good. I would say like Malaysian food is one of my tops. Even before I went to Malaysia, there's a Malaysian restaurant that I frequent, and their food hits hands down. It's so good. So after we got the food, we were like, okay, we're ready to start the day. We are fueled, we are hydrated, we are ready to roll. So the next stop was the Batu Caves. So the interesting thing about Batu Caves is 2 things that I thought was really interesting. 1, they have the largest statue in Malaysia before you even get to the stairs to get to the cave, and it is of Lord Murugan statue. Apologies if I'm getting that wrong. It's 42.7 meters, which is about 140 feet for our US people, and it represents the Hindu god of war and victory. So it's ginormous. It's ginormous, and it's gold, and it's a sight to see. I've never been to a place where they have statues like that. In Malaysia, I didn't know that there are a lot of Hindu and Buddhist temples as well as mosques. So it's very religiously diverse, which I didn't know going into it. So it was very interesting to see that. To actually get to the caves themselves, you have to walk up 272 steps. Now, the steps are really pretty. They have them painted in these rainbow colors and it's very inviting. But when I tell you, those 200 steps hurt me. They hurt. I was in pain. But also, I was like, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I'm getting to these caves because, like I said, I'm an adventurer. I want to be in the mix. So we're walking up the steps. They have the platforms where you can stand and like chill out, catch your breath. But also, something they don't tell you that's a part of these caves are the monkeys. There are like wild monkeys on these stairs. And if you're scared of animals, like my cousin was, she was very scared of the monkeys. You might want to, do a double take because you don't want to be too scared, because my thought process is that if the animals know that you're scared of them, they're more likely to mess with you. But yeah, if you're scared of animals, I might think twice about that because the monkeys are around and there are a lot of them and some of them were fighting each other. So I would just be a little cautious about that. But when you get into the caves, it's really beautiful in there. They have another Hindu temple. They actually have a few. They have 2 and a few shrines. And a few statues and stuff like that around there. So it was really interesting to go into. If you like nature, the cave itself was really beautiful. If you are, Hindu, if you are religious, you can see the different temples. They have priests, I believe, Hindu priests, like in the temples, and people go to pray and do all those things. So it's very interesting. You can get, different kind of experiences. And I've never seen like a Hindu ritual before or like seen Hindu prayer before. So it was very interesting to learn about like a different culture and to learn about a different faith in that way. So that was pretty cool. So after the Batu Caves, we're like, okay, what else is around? So we went to a Buddhist temple, which was around, and that was also another big culture shock because I've never been to a Buddhist temple either. I've seen a few temples from the outside, but I've never been inside to see what they were about. So they had 3 big Buddha statues, and they all represented different things of the Buddha, and I think it was like compassion and love and like those kind of things. And they were just like ginormous. Like I've never seen that before in my life. So I was just like, wow. And they had different things that you can interact with and learn more about, the messaging behind those Buddha statues. And that was really interesting too. So I was like, wow, this is really cool. So we were on a temple run. If you know, you know. And then after that, we got matcha, and then we kind of just relaxed for the rest of the day. We went back to the malls to get some food, and we really were like smooth sailing after that. So day 3 was up on a Friday, so we of course decided to hit up the Pink Mosque, which is another big tourist destination. But we also went for Juma prayer, and it was really nice. Like it was very calm. The people were really, really inviting. But however, the khutbah, or like the sermon that they were giving, was in Malay. So we had to use Google Translate to kind of like transcribe everything that was happening or what they were saying. Yeah, so that was the only quote unquote setback because, that's just the extra step if you want to understand what they're saying. But if you're not Muslim, I believe you could still go in there. They had things that you could wear to cover yourself. But yeah, the Juma prayer was excellent. The Pink Mosque was excellent. And then they had, after the prayer was over, they had a bazaar that you can shop. They had clothes. They were selling like snacks and juice and food. And it was really cool. So after we left the Pink Mosque, we went on a water taxi because like we have time to kill. Why are we not going to take this different mode of transportation that we never took before? And we went in the water taxi, and we kind of just did a lap around the river that was there. We got to see the Pink Mosque from the water, which was really beautiful. We got to see a bit of the architecture, and it was really a nice chill vibe, because when you're traveling all the time, sometimes you don't get a chance to really just like sit back and like relax and kind of just like not worry about the next thing you're gonna do. So this was a very nice, relaxing excursion. And it wasn't too expensive. So it was very, very nice. I enjoyed myself. And then we kind of walked around. We went back to our Airbnb and kind of relaxed. And then we were like, we need to go out. Like, let's go like out on the town. And our out on the town was the night markets. The night markets are a staple of the Malaysian experience, the KL experience. You have to go to the night markets and try the food there. There were so many different kinds of food. And it wasn't that long, but it was really busy. So be ready for crowds. It was crowded. It wasn't hectic, but it was very crowded. So at the night market, we tried a lot of different food. I tried some chicken satay, which was really good. I had a beef skewer. So I had an octopus skewer that was really good. But we also tried durian. Now, if you don't know what durian is, so durian is a very popular fruit in Malaysia, and it has kind of a misconception, but also accurate conception in this side of the world, because durian smells horrendous. Now, I hope I'm not offending too many people by saying this, but to me, durian is just so strong. It has a very strong flavor. Now, when we tried it, we were very, we were excited. I was going in with an open mind because I'm like, there is no way that millions of people like this fruit and like it tastes horrible. And I've heard mixed things. It's like either you really love it or you really hate it. So when I tried the durian, I'm like, I'm going in with an open mind. It'll be fine. It'll be smooth sailing. We cracked open the package and it was mushy. Like, it was very mushy, and I wasn't expecting it to be like that. I was expecting it to be a little bit more firm. But when I took a bite of it, it was like the texture. If you're a texture person and like textures skews you out, durian might not be for you, just on texture alone. Now, somebody let me know, but I don't think it was supposed to be that soft. Maybe it was. I don't know. But when I took a bite of it, it was very slimy. Like, it was very slimy and soft. So I was just like, I don't know if this is supposed to be this way. But that was the texture. Now the taste itself, when I first tasted it, was overbearing. I was like, I don't know how people eat this. Like, it tastes like funky, like it tastes rotten, but also tastes sweet at the same time initially. But the more I ate it and the more I tasted it, it's actually started to taste good. Like, it actually started to taste good. So I was like, I don't know how to feel about this. Like, I couldn't put it down, but I also didn't want it at the same time. It was very strange. So yeah, the durian itself was an interesting experience. I would say try it if you have the opportunity, just to say that you did it. But yeah, it was kind of weird. But I liked it though. Day 4, we were like, we need to get out of the city. We are going to go into the nature. We decided to go to Taman Negara, which was about 3 hours outside of KL. So it really was a hike, no pun intended, to get there. So luckily, in one of our Ubers the day before, he gave us his number and was like, oh, if you ever need a ride to go somewhere, like, call me or whatever. So we decided to take him up on that offer, and we were like, hey, we want to go to Taman Negara, and we would like you to take us, please. So he gave us a price. I think we probably paid American price versus like Malaysian price, but it was basically, we had him for the entire day, so it wasn't too bad, especially split up between 4 people. So the national park itself was really cool. They had trails that you can walk on. They also did other tours. So along with actually going to the national park and being in the nature and just seeing it, seeing the rivers and all of that, we also did a tour to an Aborigines village. We got to see the Aboriginal people of Malaysia, like how they live, what are they doing now, like how do they support themselves, and we got to see like how they hunt. So they were telling us a story about the way they get married is that the man goes into the forest for like 7 days, and every day he has to bring back enough food to feed the village and to feed her family and stuff. And after the 7 days, he builds a house, and if she decides to come to the house, then they're considered married. And I was just like, yes, let's bring that back. Let's bring that over here. Build me a house and feed my family for a week. So we got to see the people. We also saw like the blow darts that they use to like kill some animals. And we got to like use the blow darts. And like they also like made them that you could purchase. So we bought blow darts. And I was very happy. And I was like, this is my kind of souvenir. So that was really awesome, and we got to see that and got to experience like some real like historic, people and just like the way they live. And they're like indigenous people, like they're still around and they're still like living and thriving and being in the mix, and I love that. So that was pretty much a day trip in itself. So after we got back, it was literally a full day. It was like 3 or 4 hours to get there, 3 or 4 hours to get back. We ate food on the at the national park, and it was good, pretty chill, cool vibes. Our last full day in Malaysia, we were like, we need to do something crazy. Like, we have been going to the malls, we've been going to the national parks, but like we need to do something outlandish, like something our parents would just like not want us to do. So what did we decide to do? We decided to go whitewater rafting. Yes, 4 city girls going whitewater rafting. Why did we decide to do that? I don't know, but it sounded intriguing to me. So I was like, yes, let's do it. When and where and how do I get there faster? So I was here for it all. So we found a place to do whitewater rafting. We took a Grab, which is their version of Uber. We took a Grab out there, and we met up with the instructors, and we got in our own raft, and there was a group of us that went, and it was people from all over for the excursion. Now, I've never been whitewater rafting before, and I wasn't necessarily scared, but I've seen so many videos where people fall out the boats, and I was like, I'm not trying to get slammed into a rock, or I'm not trying to drown in this river. So there were a few people who were ahead of us, and we're like paddling, and they're like, when we tell you to lean, and we're like, go to the left, go to the right, da 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 da. So I'm just like, I just don't want to fall out this boat. So a few people went before us, and they were flipping and flooding down the river. So I'm just like, did they fall on purpose? And come to find out, yes, that is what they do. They intentionally flip the boats over. So once I found that out and that it was a controlled environment, I was like, we have to flip. We have to flip this boat. Now, I got a little pushback, but eventually we were like telling the instructors and the guys that were leading the boat, we were like, we want to flip. So we were like, okay. So we told him, but he didn't tell us when we were going to flip. So he was just like, okay, we're going, guys. Paddle, lean. And then we flipped over. When I tell you, I saw my life flash before my eyes. I was not prepared. I literally was drowning. I was like, but mind you, I know how to swim. I'm a very confident swimmer. But when I was stuck underneath that boat and I was like, okay, I'm ready to come up for air, and the air was not there, and I was just getting water flushed in my face, thrown in my face, I was just like, oh, yikes. Like, This is what drowning feels like, and I don't think I like it too much. You know, my sister and my cousin lost a crock. Literally, they lost one crock each, and it was very a mess. And I was just like, how are we going to get back home when y'all only have one shoe? But luckily, like, way down the river, like, we found one crock, and then another person found the other one, so they went home with their shoes, and it was very awesome. And then afterwards, toward the end of the excursion, they were like, okay, we're getting out the boats. Everybody jump off this cliff or we're going to float down the river. And I was just like, ha ha ha, that's funny. And we all jumped and we're literally floating down a river in Malaysia. And I was just like, how did we get here? But I'm here for all of it. I'm here for the vibes. So we were floating down the river for maybe like 10 minutes, and then we, swim to the shore, and then they feed us. They feed us this really, really good, like, chicken curry and watermelon and cucumbers and, like, vegetables. So it was really a great time. Like, I feel like that whitewater rafting adventure, like, really made the whole trip for me. Like, that really was, like, the icing on the cake. Yes, and that was our last full day, and then the next day we had a morning flight, so we headed out. But that was our trip to Malaysia. Now, final thoughts on the trip as a whole. I really enjoyed it. I would definitely go back to Malaysia, maybe stay in KL for like a day or two, but really explore the different cities that's around Malaysia and what they have to offer and how it's different from KL. Whitewater rafting was 10 out of 10. I would do that again. Like, I want to try to find a place out here that does whitewater rafting and maybe make it like a new little hobby that I do, a new little sports trend. Like, oh, like Rihanna's out here doing whitewater rafting. Like, that's cool. The food was immaculate. The curries, the street food, the night markets, the food was really good. I don't think I had anything bad when I was in Malaysia food-wise. So I really enjoyed that part of it. And transportation was a little bit interesting to get to. We had to take Grabs a lot, which are like the Uber version in Malaysia. But because we didn't have Malaysian like credit cards, it was a little bit tricky. So we had to pay in cash. So we booked the Grab. They would tell us how much it was, but then we had to pay the driver in cash. So that was a little bit of a learning curve for that part. But once you got used to it, it was fine. But yeah, everything in KL was amazing. The people were amazing. They were really friendly. We didn't have any problems. Like, nobody was really rude or like ignorant towards us, which was excellent. And yeah, you got to experience so many different cultures. You got to experience like Islamic culture, you got to experience Hindu culture, Buddhist culture, but also you got to experience different ethnicities and like see them like out and about. So it was very like mixed and mingled, which is what I loved about Malaysia. Now, final rating on Malaysia and this trip as a whole, I would say I would rate this a 9 out of 10. Excellent, excellent, excellent vibes around. So yes, so that is the end of this podcast episode. Let me know if you have any questions about Malaysia, anything you want to know more about. Happy to answer any questions that you have. And yes, thank you so much for listening, staying tuned for this trip recap, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye, guys.